Dana had a post-fight press conference, and he had a few things to say about Conor McGregor. Let's see what Papa Dana had to say.
Frustrated because he wants to fight. I'm sure that is a piece of it.
And the no fans, you can't have him fight? Is that essentially?
No. It's not that we can't have him fight, but who do you want to fight right now?
Okay.
You want to fight Ferguson? I mean, you want to fight, he had called out Masvidal. Masvidal, okay. Who do you fight right now? And where do we fight Conor McGregor right now? Fight Island isn't even up and running till July. Mm-hmm. So if you look at all the problems to run a business like this, multiply it by a fucking million. Right. And that's where we are right now. And then and there's a lot of other shit that goes on behind the scenes right now that, it's a wacky time to be the first guy putting on live sports when a lot of fucking people who are nutty as hell didn't want you. Some information today, which is funny that it was today. It's because of this deal that I'm working on. But Proper 12 whiskey has sold an obscene amount of liquor, and I don't know what his financial situation is with that thing, but I would imagine he owns a good piece of it. Conor McGregor's not going to need any money anytime soon, He loves the fight, he's passionate about it, and he's got an incredible fighter IQ, but whatever his reason is, when a guy said, my feelings on retirement, when you say you want to retire, don't worry about it. You do your thing.
What we just watched, he says, he doesn't want to fight. Okay. Proper 12 whiskey has made a ton of money. He's like, I don't know his financial situation, but I'm sure based on Proper 12 whiskey's lucrative amounts of money that it's making, money laundering, no, I'm sorry, but he's making enough where he doesn't have to fight anymore. His lifestyle with the Bugattis, the Bentleys, and buying houses for moms and daughters and friends and all of that stuff. He doesn't need a $5 million payday from the UFC. He's good to go. I mean, what did you take from that?
It's because of the deal that Dana's doing. That's why he knew that stuff about Proper 12. And then the stuff about him, who does Conor want to fight? And Fight Island's not ready till July. Where do you fight him? Annex? Jacksonville? Pick one.
I mean, he's not making money off a gate, so you can't fill an arena to watch Conor. But I mean, look, I get it, because you can't share the gate with Conor. Conor has a big payday when he fights now, right? So I guess maybe part of the negotiation is he doesn't care about the UFC's problems. He sees the money that the UFC has made, continues to make in a TV deal, and says, well, you can still pay me my little chunk of change, pandemic or not, arena or not, right? There's obviously guys lining up to fight him between Masvidal, Gaethje. I'm sure Ferguson would take that fight in a heartbeat. Khabib, if he ever leaves his homeland. So the fights are there. It's just a matter of maybe can they afford him. And to me, if you read between the lines, it sounds like they can't afford him.
Right. Well, what do you make from the Mayweather fight? I know different sport, but was it 50?
Yeah, I mean, and Mayweather came out, said, hey, if you want to come back and you want to run it back, let's do it. Does anyone want to see that fight again? Do we have confidence? I mean, have the confidence that Conor can come back and make it competitive against one of the greatest of all time to step into the ring?
Competitive, maybe, but I mean, you're going to have it would be the same fight. It'd be no different.
You're not going to get the same payday, because I don't think you're not going to fool everybody to buy that fight again.
Well, that interesting you say payday, because that would be based all on pay-per-view buys, assuming they do it without fans, hypothetically. Let's say they were doing it, tomorrow. Yeah. So couldn't they do the same thing here? Just do him on a pay-per-view and then figure out some sort of revenue split based on pay-per-view buys?
Mm-hmm. If they were smart, they would have already planned this Who knows? Maybe maybe behind the scenes they have something. Maybe there's something going on. But if they were smart at the beginning of the pandemic, they should have said, hey, live sports, you're done. Let's start training in secret. And let's announce something. 2 weeks, we're going to fight. By the way, we've been training to fight each other. And people would, then you could trick people into buying that pay-per-view again, because supply and demand. There's no supply. Okay, you know what? I'll watch a fight that maybe is not something I would normally buy in a normal economy.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be some great fight for me to buy it. I mean, I know you love Conor, and I love watching him fight too, but if it's him versus Smoker, I'm no interest in that.
Yeah, the only fight that I'm interested in him participating in is, I don't know, Gaethje maybe. Honestly, that's more of an MMA fan dream fight, not really. So I don't know. I mean, you run back Diaz again. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a good fight though.
It was. So I just don't think the UFC can afford him, and he's calling their bluff, and hopefully he has the money to call their bluff, right? He like I said, he has a lavish lifestyle. So does he have the funds to continue that lifestyle? We'll see. Dana has said before, and we'll watch another comment of his in another clip, but he basically he doesn't care if guys want to retire. He's, so I mean, let's look at him commenting about what he feels when guys want to retire.
I'll remind everybody that we're in a pandemic. The world is a crazy place right now with all these things that are going on. And, I think that everybody feels this right now. There's no fans, can't travel the fights around. I think everybody is pissed off, confused, been locked up in their houses for 3.5 months. People are wearing masks. People are, there's protests, there's riots. The list goes on and on. And I don't know. I don't listen. If you don't think that what I'm doing right now is probably the hardest thing that I've ever done, and if you don't think that 3 times a day I throw my fucking hands up and I'm ready to say, you know what? Fuck this shit. Believe me. And the amount of people that I have gunning at me right now is insane. It's insane. But here we are. This is our 5th fight? We've pulled off our 5th fight. No other sports are going right now but us. And one of the beautiful things about this sport is you don't have to fight. This isn't the NBA or the NFL where you better be at practice, you better show up and do this, you better do that. You don't have to do anything here. And if these guys want to sit out and retire right now, or anybody feels uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form with what's going on, you don't have to fight. It is all good. So if that's what Conor's feeling right now, John Jones, Jorge Masvidal, I feel you. It's not like I'm going, holy shit, this is crazy. This is nuts. Nothing is crazy and nuts right now because everything is crazy and nuts right now. So on a certain level, I totally understand it and get it.
Well, Dana basically says, this isn't our first rodeo.
We've been here before. This has happened to us before, more than once too.
Why do you think it's popping up at this time? Like, what is it causing it right now?
How the hell do I know?
Well, I mean, you're talking to the guy, so I assume you would.
I'm not talking to him. I have no idea why this is going on.
And then
So you want me to tell you why this is going on right now?
Well,
I love you. You know I love you, but that is a really stupid question.
No, it's not a stupid.
Such a stupid question.
You know what you're talking.
We're in a fucking pandemic, and the world is going crazy right now. And all these guys are like, "Well, I want more money too. I want more money." But let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to predict the future here. Most of the media in this country is going to get laid off in the next several months, and that's going to be a big. And everybody wants more money, and nobody wants to get laid off. And all these crazy things are going on in this world right now. Nothing is normal right now. Everything is
I get
crazy.
that.
And I am the only guy that is pulling off sporting events right now.
Right.
I
get that, but
but you're asking me a question. I don't fucking know. I
never
can't
thought-
tell you what's going to happen in the next fucking month with my business. I don't know. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I'm doing what I can do to keep the bus on the fucking highway here, or the train on the tracks, or whatever you want to call it. I don't give a fuck. If people don't want to fight, you don't have to fight. If you're afraid of COVID-19, stay home. If you're fucking, whatever your deal is, you don't have to do it. I couldn't explain to you anything that's going on planet Earth right now. And neither can anybody else.
I don't know. I don't seem to remember a time where multiple guys went to the media or went to their social media and said, hey, I'm not getting paid enough and I'm not happy. And then you have a few guys that actually call his bluff and retire, like a Cejudo, like a Conor McGregor now. The Diaz's are, I guess, semi-retired. I don't know what they're doing, but I mean, you've had them in bits and pieces, but never all at once where there's this groundswell of, fuck you, Dana, I want to get paid and you're not paying me, so I'm out. I mean, do you remember a time where you saw something like this?
Not in mass like that. I mean, obviously there were guys that were upset. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Tito Ortiz was one of the first ones I can remember who was just lividly pissed off.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
But during his time, when Tito came out, I don't remember Chuck Liddell saying anything. And you know why
Chuck Liddell toed the line?
Well, you know why Chuck Liddell toed the line? Because him and Dana were buddies.
Yeah,
they were out there partying, having strippers in Vegas and all of that good stuff. They were good, right? Whatever him and Liddell had, they were good. So he wasn't going to come out. But I mean, I don't remember anybody else,
I'm trying to think of top flight fighters that had issues like we have right now. I mean, you got
champions.
Four.
Champions.
Yeah, no. Tito, no. I mean, well, yeah, but nobody else at the time. Oh, Shamrock.
Again, they were always on an island when they complained.
Yeah, I don't think that was at the same time as Tito.
No, these guys all seem to be – it's not like they're talking with each other and conspiring, but they all of a sudden are like – or maybe they are. Maybe they're texting each other and saying, hey, we should be doing this, right? It's an uprising. It's a formation of a future union,
Dude, they need a union more than
whatever union they have now is bullshit. I mean, it has no weight. But
they need a real union.
They need a real union to protect them. But so you've never seen this before. And like I said, top flight stars, the ones that actually drive revenue. It's crazy to me. And for Dana to say, it's a crazy time, we're in a pandemic. One has nothing to do with the other. He's pulling a Kellyanne Conway redirection Jedi mind trick where he bullies a reporter because he basically tells a reporter that's a stupid question, right? You shouldn't be asking me that question. That's stupid. You're stupid. I like you, but you're stupid. And it's like, wait a minute. No, it's a legitimate question. More than one person has come out and said, is something going on here? And he's downplaying it. And then to go into, I don't give a fuck. People are coming after me. I don't give a fuck about those things. What? Are you what?
Yeah, I mean, look, I had a few issues with it. I agree with him. There is a pandemic going on right now and times are crazy. Completely agree with that statement.
Check.
Check that box. There are protests and riots going on right now. However, the protests and riots that are happening right now and the pandemic are only related in the sense of they're happening at the same time. So I don't really want to equal those two.
Yeah.
He said that he has, tons of people coming after him. Not sure who that is that he's referring to. I don't know if it's internally. I don't know if it's from WME or whatever they're calling themselves today. Don't know if it's from state athletic commissions. Don't know if it's from, fighters union, if you will. I don't know if it's from people within the UFC. Don't know if it's from other sports leagues. Don't know if it's from political. Have no idea. But even if there are, you're still putting on live events. You were the first one I can think of to come back. Yes, NASCAR has come back, but those drivers
they've had a couple races now. He can't continue to claim I'm the only one out here. That's bullshit. And you know what? To a lesser extent, you know, there have been golf competitions. I know it's not the same, but he can't claim that he's the only one when NASCAR's out there.
He could claim that he's the only one that has the stars of their sport get that close during an event because they're fighting. NASCAR drivers aren't getting that close. If they did, then that was a huge accident. Yeah, and then him basically saying, you know, I don't give a shit. I understand if you want to retire, hey, do your thing. That's just him trying to write it off, which is fine. If I was in his position, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, we know they're all independent contractors.
Right.
They are their own business. So if they decide, a la a barber or hairdresser, doesn't want to do that job anymore, they're free to do it, just like any one of us, right? Free to go on and do something else if we want to. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all kind of independent contractors in that sense, right? But hey, he clearly just doesn't give a shit. Doesn't get, I mean, we've talked about this before. He doesn't care about, if he doesn't care about the stars, what do you think he cares about the Eddie Winelands and the Neil Magnies of the world, as a callback from this last Saturday's event? But I mean, do you really think he cares about any of those guys? Fuck no.
I don't know that Dana's really cared about a fighter since, in our opinion, you had like the silver golden age or whatever the hell you want to call it. And for me, that would be like the Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock, Randy Couture heyday, not Randy Couture at the end of his career. Like he loved it, well, except for Tito probably, but he loved those guys.
Well, I mean, he took care of Chuck. I mean, when Chuck retired, he became what, like an accountant or some he did something for the UFC corporate offices. I mean, he was there. Yeah, he was hired on in some sense. I mean, that's what I remember. I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I remember is he retired and then he was taken care of. Similar to what Forrest Griffin now. He's head of the Performance Training Institute for the UFC. He runs that facility. So, which actually, he was on the most expensivest on Vice with 2 Chainz. They did a tour of the UFC training facility. If you haven't seen it, it was last week's episode. It's pretty awesome to kind of see all the stuff. And because it's most expensivest, if you don't know the show, they talk about the cost of everything. It's kind of like, you know, Robin Leach's Rich and Famous kind of show.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Yes. Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, look, for him to just continue to say, I don't give a fuck, like constantly, and he's not mincing words. And if people are gunning for him, then maybe it is time for him to retire. If he's tired of it, he obviously seems tired of it. Well, go away then.
I think we've mentioned this before more than once. And if not, we're mentioning it now. The UFC needs a commissioner, like a true to-the-bone commissioner. Dana could still be the president. Not taking that away from him. No. But they need a commissioner.
Dana cannot coexist with anybody.
Well, then that's on WME to fix.
They can barely coexist with him. They can't control him. So I don't know how long he has left on his contract. I think Dana needs to retire and go do something else, right? To me, I don't see. Does anyone tune in because Dana White's the head of the UFC at this point? Like, is he really the yard barker? You know, is he though? Is he really the carnival guy? You know, carnival barker out there. Hey, come and see a fight. Come see these 2 people punch each other's faces.
He was, and you know
he was. But now I don't think they need. The UFC doesn't need that anymore.
Espen.
They have Espen.
That's ESPN, by the way. People were just saying Espen because it's fun.
I bet you if they did a segment on SportsCenter, it would reach more people than Dana White talking about a fight anymore.
Yeah, but look, at the same time, his reactions get people like us and others talking about it. So we're talking about him. We're talking about the UFC. We're talking about.
But then we would just talk about fights then, or we would talk about drama with John Jones or Conor McGregor. We would just shift our focus to something else. I mean, yes, the fact is he's saying something and we're talking about it, but.
Yeah, I guess. But we're not talking about fight specifically, you're right. We're talking about him. It's kind of a distraction.
It is, and it's a shame knowing that Amanda Nunes had a fantastic fight.
Beast.
I mean, she's a beast. Taking nothing away from what's her name, who took a 5-round pounding, which is tougher than
Spencer.
I mean, give it up for a tough Canadian girl going in there and sticking with it. But I mean, the Lioness is a killer,
She's a beast.
and she's ready to fight a dude. Like, she's
I
ready
was
to
thinking
go in
about
there
that
and take
watching the fight. I'm like, wait a second, this could
She's
be
got
where
skills, man.
she's ridiculous. She's one of the best fighters I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and you just wonder about power, right? Like, you know, the physics of. I'm gonna be very careful. The physics between male and female power. Is there a difference? I don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever really tested that on punching power, etc. But
this would be the point. Well, I'm sure sports science has with what's his name, but
no, I don't think they've ever done gender. They've done power in punches and kicks, but never male female, which I think would be an interesting. You know, it's kind of like that dream where it's like, what if the U.S. women's soccer team played the men's soccer team?
The women would win. They're much better.
Right. I mean, it's kind of similar in that way. Like, you want to like think about it, but the problem is, I don't think we're not evolved enough as a culture or as a society to want to see a man and woman fight.
You said U.S. versus U.S. there. First of all, I think if the U.S. women played like, you know, Spain or Brazil, I don't know if they would have the same results. I'm not saying that they couldn't pull it out, but the talent level between the U.S. men's team and the Brazilian men's team or the Spanish men's team, very different.
Totally different.
Yeah. So, look, I think that Amanda Nunes, I would be interested to see a fight between her in the same weight class as a guy, even if it's, you know, an exhibition. Put him in headgear. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to distract from our real conversation here, which is Dana needing to. He's unhinged, man. I think he's more unhinged than ever. I think he's always attacked guys. He's always attacked reporters. He's always been this dude, but I just think like now people are just growing tired of it. I am. I'm picking my battles, and I think that Dana needs to go. And I'm going to keep saying this every time. Every time we talk about Dana, I'm going to bring it up.
Yeah. Look, I don't think he needs to go. I'm on the opposite side of that coin, but I am getting tired of it. It's like, dude, you don't need to really talk anymore. You can give your state of the UFC stuff and be done. You don't need to belittle reporters anymore. You guys have grown beyond that. If you want to be a real sport, commissioners, presidents, don't do that.
And I thought that part of this WME deal was that he was going to kind of fade into the background and let the sport move forward. But that hasn't happened. And I don't know when or if it's going to happen. I don't think Dana can help himself. That's the issue. Dana has to talk. Dana has to be heard. He has to come out and hold court.
I'm going to treat Dana just like he's another commissioner because that's just how he acts. So I understand he's the president and very, very, very deserved title. But you don't hear Bettman. You don't hear Manfred. You don't hear Silver. You don't hear Goodell talking that much.
Nope. Even sports that need a lift, that need attention, they're not out there doing that. They're out there doing it the right way. And look, I mean, one final point is him, you know, with the independent contractor thing, and him talking about if guys want to fight, they can fight. If they don't, I'm good with it. He screwed a lot of fighters over with the Reebok deal, right? Not allowing guys to go out and make their money and get sponsorships have pushed some fighters to go to a Bellator, a ONE FC, and, you know, now they can go get some money, you know, and Eddie Alvarez, Ryan Bader, et cetera, going over to those organizations that maybe they can't necessarily pay him a matching salary in per fight deal, but they make that up in a Monster Energy or other sponsor deal. And then it's even more so than that they would have been making at the UFC level. And they're not fighting the killers that they would be in the UFC. Not to say that the other organizations don't have killers, but look, I think that they really hurt a lot of fighters by closing that Reebok deal and not allowing sponsorships.
Look, I have to agree with you. You and I vividly remember seeing those banners unroll behind the fighters with, Hitman, Tap Out, Full Tilt Poker, whatever the heck it was, Headblade. What else?
And yet the UFC can continue to sell their mat.
Right, exactly.
And
but the fighters short.
And their
and
octagon
everything
posts.
On the shorts. I forgot.
Yeah, and the octagon posts. They can continue to sell that, right?
Yeah.
And generate revenue there. So why can't the fighters put something on their shorts?
I know. I didn't understand that. I get that Reebok needs to be the official outfitter, but how about they could walk out Reebok, and once they take that off, they're in whatever shorts they want. Hayabusa, that was another one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. They got to figure that out. But, Reebok's going to be more focused on the UFC now because of the whole other issue with CrossFit.
But anyway, we have one more clip where Dana talks specifically about Jorge Masvidal and John Jones, and Jorge actually pulled the stat out that I gave last week on how much the fighters actually make of the overall pie.
Right now.
I seem to think that Jorge watched our last week's video and got that stat. So thanks, Jorge, for the shout out. But
hope he did.
Let's check that out.
He did email us.
Being the financial wizard that he is, I'm assuming his numbers are correct. Here's the thing about Masvidal. We just signed a new deal with Masvidal. Masvidal just signed a new 8-fight deal. He's got 7 fights left on his deal, And my people were working with him and trying to get a deal done with him when he already has a deal. John Jones has like 7 fights left on his deal. He just signed a new deal less than a year ago. So guys, you can say whatever you want about it. I have a deal. We just did a deal with both guys. This isn't one of those scenarios where like they've got some 3-year-old deal and it's like, oh man, that was 3 years ago. I'm in a much different place. This was months ago.
All right. Reaction to that one.
The accounting wizard that he is. Go.
What a dick. Like, what
Let's
a
start
dick.
At the beginning. Accounting wizard? Come on. Seriously? Like, that's where you're going to start? And you're trying to laugh it off? Nobody in the room was laughing. Did you notice?
Because they're all fucking, all those reporters are scared of Dana.
I get it, but
they all work in fear of Dana. So sad. It's so sad how, look, the one thing to insult a guy's in intelligence and is one thing, right? And that's how you answer the question. That's how you start off answering, is by insulting the guy's intelligence.
Yeah, right. Come on. All right, so we're gonna get over that. So we'll move on from the fact that just no. Just no. They both have contracts. Let's talk about John Jones first, because that's kind of a different issue, in my opinion. John Jones has 7 fights left?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not talking about 7 fights at light heavyweight. He was going to move up hypothetically to heavyweight. It's a different situation, unless the contract accounts for him moving up to heavyweight. I don't know if it does. I haven't seen the contract.
Yeah. Well, what we don't see in the clip is he then compounds it by, let me make a prediction. A lot of people in media are going to lose their jobs. And I'm like, wait, what? Based off of what stat or what information do you have, Dana? And he goes, everybody wants money now because they're about to get laid off and media people are going to get laid off. And I'm like, what? Wait, what does that have to do with Masvidal and Jones's deal? Look, I see the fact is they entered a deal less than a year ago that said they would get paid this much for these many fights. I get it. Hey, you're only one fight into your 7-8 fight deal. We can't renegotiate already. But I mean, he's taking the Chicago Bulls Scottie Pippen approach. We've entered the deal. I'm not going to renegotiate with you. That's your deal. Goodbye.
Look, I can understand, again, Jones' deal I think is a separate issue because 2 reasons. one, if he was going to move up to heavyweight, I don't know that a deal would account for that because I don't think they contemplated it. And two, if they just did a new deal months ago, he was the champion. So then I agree with Dana in the sense of if he was going to fight at light heavyweight, then they have a deal in place. We're not going to renegotiate with you, especially as the champion. Now, Masvidal, I'm assuming the deal was done after he got the BMF belt, my assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume because everybody and their mother wants that damn belt, the deal accounted for that and probably is paying him, I don't know how much money, but X number of dollars per fight. So is he renegotiating or trying to renegotiate to get a higher percentage? Is he renegotiating for more fights? Is he negotiating for less fights, more money? I mean, I would love to know that, truthfully.
I don't think a guy like Masvidal, John Jones, or let's just say the top 10% of UFC fighters are looking to extend the number of fights in their deal. I think what they're trying to do is decrease the amount of fights and increase the amount of money per fight, right? I think that the rest of the fighters are, I need some longevity here. I don't want to get cut. So I want more fights at this rate. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's the tug and pull of those two deal points. Mm. But I don't know. I think that, I think everything's always up for negotiation. And the fact is he doesn't talk to those guys. I mean, he claims he doesn't talk to them and that he's not involved with those negotiations. Wasn't it just a couple of weeks ago that he was talking about texting with John Jones about a deal?
I'm pretty sure
he doesn't
that.
Talk to them? I mean, listen, Dana Trump. Like, we know, we have the recording of what you said and what you've been doing.
Fake news.
It's with him, it's all fake news. It's redirection. It's changing the subject, and it's bullying. And like I said, we see that right now out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue right now.
And we don't have time.
But
today,
look,
no.
it's a tactic that, I mean, some people see and they're like, I'm going to try to adopt that. Dana's been doing it for years, so he's a pro at this. He's a pro at being a snake oil salesman. But look, it's not okay to treat your stars like this. And look, whether or not a union comes about, a real union, okay, not the bullshit that Dominic Cruz or whomever else, I don't know, remember who started this union, but something real. But are guys going to walk out? I think that's what needs to happen. Is guys need to all sit out together and shut them down. We can't have guys scabbing and walking across the picket lines. And look, and to Dana's point, he's always told this story. When two guys start fighting in the middle of the street, what happens? Everybody comes out to watch. That's what we are. Everybody loves a fight. Everybody loves to watch fighting. So his thought is, well, if they do picket or they do all walk, I'll find a couple guys to come into the octagon and fight. I mean, I don't think that holds true because I'm not watching Joey Beltran on bare knuckle boxing, and that's a fight.
Yeah, look, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, and I don't know that anyone is more right than the other, but my assumption is that Dana's still stuck in the UFC 23 days, or whenever he finally entered, because I know it wasn't UFC 2 or 3 or 4, but we'll say 23, nice round number, why not? Michael Jordan's number, where literally they could have pulled guys off the street. They had their kind of stars. They had the Tito Ortiz, they had the Randy Couture, they had the Chuck Liddell. They had, after that, Matt Hughes. They had then early stages of GSP, at BJ Penn, stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it was a little different then. You had your really, really top flight guys and then not really much else. Now you've got a pretty well-rounded roster. Yeah, you still have your top flight guys, but I wouldn't turn around and say, oh, okay, all the other guys are junk.
Well, and arguably, these are a different type of fighter now. These are guys that have been training most of their lives to go into the UFC.
I know
they are not. Right. They train UFC. They are not guys who, I mean, we still have a few of them, a former football player, former basketball player, whatever, right? These guys are wanting to go to the UFC. So we are seeing a different level of mindset as well, right? Where this is my job. I'm not doing this because, I'm drinking 4 days a week and then I'm going out and fighting, right? It's a whole different animal. And again, we're seeing an evolution, and I hope that all of the fighters stay strong and don't bend. I know at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going to suffer.
Yeah, of course. The fans always.
We're not going to see the fights that we want to see.
But look, I feel like UFC, and I don't know all their financials, and obviously, take into account inflation and just life, is kind of where baseball was when the players had to have winter jobs. They would play baseball during the season, and then at the end of the season, they had to go sell tires at Sears,
which still happens. A lot of guys are doing that. There's a couple fighters. Oh, what is his? Pinchel. I think he lives in the Inland Empire, and I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but he works for AAA.
Okay, that's exactly my point. That's what I'm saying.
Stores.
I think that's where the UFC currently is in its existence.
Yeah.
They might not need to be, given what their financials potentially are. I mean, you don't get bought for, what was it, $4 billion, $2 billion? One of those? We'll say $4 billion, and have garbage financials, because WME is not in the business of buying something that's going to tank. They are in it to make money.
Well, again, and I won't rehash this, but they gave Tom Brady and all the investors that dividend, and the actual product suffering because of decisions like that. So,
hey, look, I wish I was an investor, but I think the investors also need to stand up and go, hey, wait a second. Mm-hmm. You're not paying these guys and ladies, appropriately. You need to fix that. I don't know if it's like you said, get rid of the Reebok deal. Not get rid of the Reebok deal. Redo the Reebok deal a little bit, or, better disperse the Reebok money, because I would be interested to know how much, the prelim first fighters are making compared to, not the main card guys, meaning the John Joneses, because obviously that would be different. But like the first fight of the main card compared to the first fight of the prelims.
Yeah.
I get $5,000 for that. What? It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that we are seeing an evolution and an uprising, and it looks like the revolution will be tweeted.
Yeah. Hey, Masvidal could lead it. Masvidal, Jones, McGregor probably doesn't want to, but you've got three guys that could lead it. If they all put their heads together and get with every other fighter, it's done.
Yeah. I hope they do, for the betterment of the sport.
They just need to find a union leader. I can think of a few.